Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships Call 2025. We are very happy to offer you this session today because it's also exactly today when the call has been launched. And those of you who are joining here, we assume that you have a very strong interest to look into this call and probably prepare a proposal, look for a host, for a supervisor, wanting to know how to apply to this call. And I think you're in the right place because we have an excellent lineup of speakers today, expert speakers, but also we have testimonials. We have current MSCA Fellows who have cracked this grant, who will share their insights together with our expert speaker, who will guide you and lead you through this call, the context and the content. And we will also be very happy to receive your questions and answer them throughout this webinar. Let me just inform you that please use the Q&A chat function for posing your questions. We will have a Q&A session at the end, and use the chat just maybe for introducing or for networking purposes, but please don't post any questions in the chat, rather use the Q&A. Okay, with that, I would like to welcome our speakers and guests for today. We have Christine Graf, who is the MSCA National Contact Point from the Estonian Research Council with us. Very good afternoon to you, Christine. We have Dr. Vivek Dham from the EU delegation, whom I will ask in a second to give the opening remarks. We have Dr. Ramu Vade, who is a current Marie Skłodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellow. We will introduce him more in detail later. And we have Dr. Jyotin Nair, who is also a Marie Curie Postdoctoral Fellow. She will also be telling more about her journey as a fellow and giving you some tips and advice about how to prepare a good application. Okay. Now, without any further delay, I would like to ask Dr. Vivek Dham from the EU delegation, please, to give some opening remarks. Vivek, the postdoctoral fellowship is one of the best programs for individual researchers to apply to seek a career in Europe. And Indian researchers, internationals, have been doing extremely well over the last year. So happy to have you, and kindly just give a few remarks to the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samrat. Let me thank all the participants who are joining us today. It is more than 200. Your participation means a lot to us because you are the one who is connecting the India and Europe together. So we encourage more and more EU-India links through our research community. So I will not go much into the details, but I will just try to give you the context of what is the EU-India relations right now and what you should look into the proposal. As far as the EU and India is concerned, we are strategic partners since last February. There was a big delegation. President EU had visited here, and the mobility of researchers is a core of our cooperation. We value a lot the scientific ties between Europe and India. And Marie Skłodowska-Curie program is one of the best program rated across the world and in the Indian scientific community to a best tool to research mobility. There is also, Samrat will give you a bit of details. Day for yesterday, there is an announcement by the European President about the Europe as a destination for science. So current geopolitical change in different scenarios. The EU is also open for a best researchers, excellent researchers across the globe to host them. So this is the best opportunity. This is the best program that through which you can liaise with the European institutions and form your research career. So, in short, the Europe is quite open to the quality researchers, and we always welcome to the best researchers across the globe. And India is doing extremely well. What Dr. Samrat has already mentioned, in last 5 years, India remains the top beneficiary of the as a non-European country. The maximum number of postdocs are from India. So, on an average, we had taken a average. So 80 to 100 per year, the Indian nationals had managed to crack the Marie Curie. So that is extremely good. It is not about the nationality, but the quality and the quality of research the Indian researchers are bringing to this particular program. That is what it has been recognized and appreciated. And last year it has even crossed 100 marks. So I think 100 10 or 120 the Indian researchers managed to crack this postdoc. So no doubt there is a quality, there is excellence, and that is why the it is a global competition. So you are doing fantastically well in this global competition, and something that we are quite proud of it. Come to the application, I will give you two, three keywords. The first thing that you should be 101% prepared for the application. If you don't do it anything half-heartedly, otherwise you lose the attempt, you lose the threshold mark, then you will not able to get to the next year. I think Christina will give in detail about the thresholds that resubmissions are there. So the first thing, if you are 101% sure, then only prepared, then only you apply. Otherwise, the call will reopen next year, so you can try next year. So that is point one. The second point is not only about the research. Okay, I urge all the participant to read the Marie Curie work program, because you need to understand the philosophy. You need to understand the gist why this particular program is designed, what is expected under this particular program. So you need to understand the rationale of the program, and that rationale should reflect into the your application. That is very important. The third point, what we also observed, that the people when they are applying, it is not only about the science, because this entire program is about three I's: the interdisciplinarity, intersectoral, and international. So when you are trying to formulate a proposal, make sure you address these three I's. That will be much more helpful to secure a good rank or the score. And the last one is about the host identification, and Samrat and my colleagues will give you more details about it. But this is the most critical part of the entire exercise. The 50% is goes, how do you find the best host in Europe, and is all depend on you and the host institution. Neither me, neither Samrat, neither anyone able to identify who is your host. So that exercise, that you need to do it yourself. You need to identify a best host on your own, through your database, through your contacts. There are a lot of member state are organizing hosting events, so please participate into that. But if you manage to identify a good host who is ready to invest time with you, then your half battle is won. So I will not go into the details. This is what we are doing quite regularly, and we keep on helping the Indian researchers. And Samrat is our the man to go. So we always look for Samrat for any issues that we face, and he always had the solution. So thank you very much, and all the best to all the people. And continuation to the seminar, Samrat, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vic, for this very encouraging words, and also being very clear about what this call is about, and what are the importance to keep the attention, what to look for, and I think what you also already said, two things which I can take away from your opening remarks are the Choose Europe for Science initiative, which has just been launched by the European Commission. There are additional funds for programs like the MSCA or ERC, which wants to attract the best talented researchers to collaborate with Europe. It's not about training the best to Europe. It's about transferring knowledge. It's about the collaborational aspect, which is here emphasized. And the other thing which you said, that how excellent Indian researchers have been performing in the past under the MSCA. Actually, the number was 144, I think, for 2024. That's really remarkable for researchers outside of Europe who have applied. That India is really ranked as the top nation when it comes to the postdoctoral fellowship. So we're very happy to see that there is still such a huge interest on about this fellowship. And I think it's time now to dive deep into this call, which has been launched today. And it's a real pleasure for me to welcome again Christine Krav, who is the Deputy Head of the International Research Cooperation at the Department of the Estonian Research Council. She's the national contact point and the national delegate to the program committee for three areas within Horizon Europe. It's the ERC, European Research Council, it's the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action, and it's the widening participation and spreading excellence. So she has a broad portfolio of knowledge and expertise. Today she will have the head of the MSCA NCP. As NCP, she consults clients on proposal preparation and project implementation. She also pre-screens application and organizes communication and training events. As program committee delegate, she is in the charge of consolidating national positions on the draft work programs. And about her personal background, she has a background in IT and adult education. Christine, thank you so much for joining. I see your slides are already up, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samrat, for this very nice introduction. And also, I'm honored to give my presentation in front of this big audience and try to give my little 5 cents to the continued success story of Indian researchers in the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships. My talk today will be concentrating on the call that has just opened, as Samrat has mentioned. Today is therefore the very best day for giving this presentation. You can immediately after my presentation start trying out these links and these activities. So the goal of today's presentation is that by the end of it, you have a clear picture of what the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships are about and how to take your next steps in applying for it. I will speak mostly keeping in mind Indian researchers who want to take up a postdoctoral fellowship in Europe, but I will also mention the ways in how European postdocs of different origins can take up postdoctoral fellowship in India with the help of global fellowships that are a part of the postdoctoral fellowships. And I will be very happy to answer any and all of your questions. So I suppose, Samrat, that we will have some time after my presentation for answering questions. Now, without further ado, I encourage you to use the question and answer section for submitting your questions during my presentation. But I will now start my presentation, and I will start quite from a broad picture, because Marie Skłodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships are part of the bigger program, which is called Horizon Europe. It is the current EU Research and Innovation Framework Program. And this framework program is actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest, research funding programs in the world. Horizon Europe has a duration of 7 years. It lasts from 2021 to 2027, and it has the budget of almost 100 billion euros. So indeed a vast program, and Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions are one part of it. Before we go to the postdoctoral fellowships, let me just very briefly mention the other MSCA actions, as they are called. MSCA is the short version for Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. People liked abbreviations and acronyms, so I apologize in advance if I use some that have not been explained, but Samrat will tell me to explain further if need be. So the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions postdoctoral fellowships is probably the most well-known action, but there are also others, and these other actions also have opportunities for Indian researchers, all of them. So the Marie Skłodowska-Curie doctoral networks, they are aimed at doctoral candidates. So the European organizations put together a network that trains doctoral candidates, and Indian pre-doctoral researchers can apply to these positions. Then there are Marie Skłodowska-Curie staff exchanges, I know that just a few weeks ago you had an info session, similar info session about staff exchanges that facilitate exchange of research staff between organizations in Europe and also outside Europe. Then Marie Skłodowska-Curie co-funding program is a complex program that funds pre-existing or new doctoral or postdoctoral programs. And also in these funded co-fund programs, Indian researchers can apply for these positions. So this is another way of funding your postdoctoral fellowship, not directly by applying to the European Commission, but by applying to a position in one of the co-funded MSCA programs. And then finally, there is this public outreach events, MSCA and Citizens, that organize European Researchers' Night every year. And many funded MSCA Fellows regularly take part in these public outreach events to promote research, to promote science, and to promote the fact that they are funded by European programs. So this is a general overview of Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and all of these actions have some common key features. So all of them are dedicated to career development of researchers. So this is the main aim, the main focus of all MSCA actions, to support a career development of researchers, and very importantly, researchers can come from all over the world. This is not only researchers who are currently in Europe. All the actions stimulate, as was already mentioned before, the three I's. So research that is international, intersectoral, meaning involving both the academic and the non-academic sector, and interdisciplinary. And the participation of the non-academic indeed is quite important, and this can also be non-academic sector, for example, companies or hospitals or NGOs can also be involved in a postdoctoral fellowship application. MSCA altogether, they support researchers at every stage of their career, but of course postdoctoral fellowships are targeted at early postdocs in the first 8 years of their career after obtaining the doctoral degree. And a very, very important feature of MSCA is that it is bottom-up. This means that the program supports excellent research in all domains. There are no predefined priorities. There are no predefined topics. Every researcher, together with their host institution, is free to submit a proposal in any field of research, in anything that is of your interest. So this is very important aspect of MSCA that is quite unique in Horizon Europe. MSCA promote attractive working and employment conditions. The unit cost that it is based on gives you a very nice income in any European country that you choose to go to. And they also have a high impact on researchers' careers, but also on organizations and structures that support research. And many researchers benefit from the prestigiousness of this MSCA postdoctoral fellowships. Having something that in your CV will definitely make your future career in research smoother. But now going to the postdoctoral fellowships as such, the postdoctoral fellowships are similar to many other postdoctoral fellowships in the fact that they are individual fellowships, and at the core, at the heart of this fellowship is a research project that you propose together with your supervisor and host institution. So carrying out a research project is the main activity of the postdoctoral fellowship, and this is for sure the most important aspect of this fellowship. But to write a successful application, you must keep in mind what I mentioned before, that all MSCA actions, they are actually career development actions. So yes, research project is the most important thing. Research project is what you will do for the most part of your fellowship. But to write a successful application, it is not sufficient to write only about research. You have to switch on a different mindset. And you have to think of this postdoctoral fellowship, this research that you will carry out, as a tool for shaping your future career. So the fellowships also include skills development. You have to be quite precise and quite explicit about what kind of skills you are going to develop with this fellowship. And this means both scientific skills but also transferable skills, skills that are not specific to your research field, but will help you in your career, in your future career as a researcher, both in academic and non-academic setting. Then you have to plan dissemination activities, meaning disseminating the results of your research, but also you have to plan communication activities, meaning activities targeted at general population with the aim of popularizing research and with the aim of making research and research careers more visible, more attractive for the general population, maybe for young students. Then, in each fellowship, you should at least consider developing connections with the non-academic sector. Even if your research is carried out in an academic sector, in a university or a research organization, which the majority of MSCA postdoctoral fellowships are, you should think of creating connections to companies or hospitals or NGOs or ministries, depending on your field of research, to prepare yourself also for a potential career outside the sector, because researchers are needed not only in universities, not only in academic positions, but researchers with good training, with good skills, are actually the driving forces behind economic growth and innovation. And therefore, you should not limit your career vision that you propose in this postdoctoral fellowship to only academic sector, but you should think wider and think of creating these links and developing these skills that would enable you to also fulfill your career in the future in the non-academic sector. And most importantly, all MSCA actions are mobility actions. So it means that you have to physically move to another country. So currently being in India, you would move to a country in Europe, or researchers that are currently in Europe move to other European countries, or they can move also to countries outside Europe with a global fellowship, for example, to India, to carry out their postdoctoral fellowship here. And I will explain the difference between the European and the global fellowship in a second. So this is the main setup of the postdoctoral fellowship. And when you start preparing your proposal, you will have to think about the research, but also all these other aspects that are surrounding research to help your career in the future. There are two types of MSCA postdoctoral fellowships. First of all, there are the European fellowships. The fellowship to come to Europe from any country in the world, including moving within Europe, these are called European fellowships. This means that the host institution, the organization with which you apply for this grant, is based in Europe. And I will explain on my next slide what Europe means in this context, because it is wider than just European Union member states. The duration of the European Fellowship is 12 to 24 months, but I can tell you that most of the applicants, they choose 24 months, the maximum duration. So there is no preference for a shorter or for a longer duration. It is up to you and your host institution. As I said, most decide 24 months, but this doesn't exclude shorter. For example, if your family situation or your other plans, you would prefer a shorter duration, then by all means go for it. So 24 months is usually the norm for European Fellowship. Global Fellowship is a little bit more complex. Global Fellowship means that the host institution with whom you will spend the major part of this fellowship is situated outside of Europe. So outside of European Union member states, but also outside Horizon Europe associated countries that I will mention very soon in my next slide. And the researcher who is currently based in Europe can apply for a global fellowship to go for a postdoc outside Europe, let's say in India, and then there is also a mandatory return phase. The European fellowships do not include this return phase. They are just one phase, but global fellowships have two phases. So for going out of Europe and then returning. And the global fellowships mean that the researcher has to be currently based in Europe or have a European nationality. Therefore, the global fellowship have a slightly longer duration. The outgoing phase is similar to European fellowship, so up to 2 years, but then there is the 12-month mandatory return phase. And there are actually two organizations that are involved in the proposal. One is the organization outside Europe, and the one is the return host in Europe. To make the setup a little bit more complex, during your European fellowship or during the outgoing phase of the global fellowship, it is also possible to spend some time in other organizations. These are called secondments, and they can be up to 1/3 of the fellowship duration. Keep in mind that the secondments are totally optional. You do not have to include them, but they can be beneficial in case you need some specific training in another organization, or for example, you want to carry out a part of your research, let's say in a company or something like that. So secondments are just an option that is given to you to spend some time during your European fellowship in another organization. What is beautiful about secondments is that they can take place in any country of the world. So, for example, you can come to do your postdoctoral fellowship in Europe and then go for a couple of months to Canada to learn a specific technique or to work with a specific group there. So secondments, totally optional, but a good way to even increase the impact of your fellowship by providing a means to deepen your knowledge, but also widen your networks. The secondment is a very specific word here in the context of MSCA-Postdoctoral Fellowships. And let me just introduce another very specific word, which is called placement. So the word placement is a novelty for Horizon Europe. Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowships have existed for many years, also before the current framework program. And this placement was a novelty that was introduced in Horizon Europe in 2021 to make it even easier for researchers to transfer to a non-academic career after completing their postdoctoral fellowship. So placements are also totally optional. And placements are a period of 6 months in addition to your normal fellowship that allow you to carry out research after the normal period of your fellowship in a non-academic sector organization in Europe. So, for example, if you fancy a career in the non-academic sector, you want to try it out, or you have results that could be meaningful for the non-academic sector, after your fellowship, you can go for a fully paid 6 months to work in a company, for example, or a hospital, or an NGO or a ministry in Europe to help transfer the knowledge that you obtained and the results that you obtained in your European fellowship to a European organization that is in the non-academic sector. The placements are fully funded and they are considered additional period to your fellowship, but it must apply for a placement already in your original application. So in your original application, you must already plan a placement and you must already have an agreement from this non-academic organization where you want to work 6 months after your fellowship has been completed. So secondments are part of your fellowship, part of the 24 months of the fellowship duration, but placements are on top of the normal fellowship duration. Secondments can take place in any country worldwide, but placements can only take place in Europe. Secondment organizations can be both academic and non-academic, but placement organizations can be only non-academic. So this was hopefully a clear explanation of the fellowship, the optional secondments that are part of it, and the optional placement that can follow the regular fellowship. Now, what is this Europe that we are talking about? Everybody knows that we have 27 member states in the European Union, and they are, of course, considered part of the European fellowship target countries. But there are also many countries that are called associated countries, countries that have concluded an agreement with the European Union, and these countries are considered equal to European Union member states for the purpose of European fellowship. So also these countries that are listed here, that are not member states, and sometimes they are not even on the continent of Europe, are considered European Fellowship target countries. So currently there are quite a long list of associated countries. For example, for many of you, perhaps UK is an interesting destination country. I know for Estonian researchers, UK is often a choice among the top choices for European fellowship applications, but also countries like Iceland, Israel, Norway, and many smaller countries. What is marked with an asterisk here are the countries that are in the middle of this association process. So you can apply with these countries as well, and hopefully the countries will conclude an association agreement before the results of the MSCA fellowship application. But just be warned that in case the association process is not concluded by the time the positive call information is announced, then your proposal cannot be funded from Horizon Europe. But Switzerland, for example, has a transfer scheme that they fund exactly the same proposal under the same conditions from their national funding in case the association process is not completed on time. So hopefully, yes, the association process for these three countries is completed within the next few months, and there should be no problems regarding your application there. So all of the countries listed here, the European Union member states, but also associated countries, to go there you apply for an European fellowship, but to go to any other country not listed here, you will apply for a global fellowship if you are based in Europe currently. The application of the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship is made together with the organization and together with your future supervisor. There are actually no restrictions on what kind of organizations can apply for MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships. Usually they are universities or big research institutions, but this is not a must. Actually, it can also be a company, it can be another type of organization. The most important thing is that they have the conditions to do high quality research, and if they have someone to supervise you. So in case it is a company, for example, it must be a really research intensive company. The lion's share of applications for postdoctoral fellowships are submitted with universities and research organizations. And with those type of organizations, of course, it is the most natural, the most easy to find the conditions that will allow you to develop your career as a researcher. But there are plenty of requirements for the researcher, for the future postdoctoral fellow. And I will list them now. So first of all, the researchers can be of any nationality. For European fellowship, the requirement there, so any nationality, full stop. But for global fellowships, they can be, yes, of any nationality, but at the same time, they must be either nationals or long-term residents of the member states or Horizon Europe associated countries. So if you are currently based in India, then you cannot apply for a global fellowship. You can apply for a European fellowship. Another strict criterion is that by the time of the call deadline, which is 10th of September this year, the applicant must be in possession of the PhD degree. So this means that the successful defense of your PhD degree must already have taken place by 10th of September. So for example, if you are currently a PhD student and your defense, your viva is planned for the 15th of September. Unfortunately, you would not be eligible to apply this year for MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships. Then you would have to wait for a year. But if, for example, your successful defense takes place on the 9th of September, you are eligible for applying this year. So being in possession of the PhD degree at the call deadline is a strict requirement. The other strict requirement is that you must not have more than 8 years of research experience after obtaining your PhD. But here there are several exceptions. For example, you can deduct all of the time that you took a career break from research, and you can also deduct all of the time that you worked outside of research during these more than 8 years, for example. And many other exceptions are possible. So, for example, let's say you completed your PhD more than 8 years ago, but you worked in a position in a university where only half of your duties were connected to research and the other half were connected to teaching and administrative tasks. In that case, you could deduct all of that time that you did not spend for research. And to prove that, you need to have, of course, solid documentation that state what your duties were in your positions. Also, for example, if you went on paternal or maternity leave, all that time can be deducted from the more than 8 years. But these deductions and these exceptions should only interest you if you have more than 8 years of research experience. If you have less than 8 years research experience, then you just don't have to worry about that at all. Later, I will share a link to a document that helps you to calculate your research experience. And this is a useful tool provided by the European Commission Research Executive Agency to help everybody to assess whether they are eligible or not for this postdoctoral fellowship. And finally, very importantly, all of the researchers applying for MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships must comply with the mobility rule. And this is also a very strict rule. It means that the researchers applying for the European fellowship or global fellowships, they must not have resided or had their main activity in the country where they want to go with this fellowship for more than 12 months in the last 3 years preceding the call deadline. So, for example, if you have just moved to Germany, you started working there in May, then you are still eligible to apply with the German institution for the postdoctoral fellowship. But let's say you moved to Europe already in August last year, then you have resided in the country already for more than 12 months by 10th of September, then you are not eligible to apply with a host organization in that particular country. And both residence and main activity count. So living in a country and having the main activity, meaning work or studies in that country. But if you are currently based in India, you have completed your PhD there, then the mobility rule naturally is always fulfilled when you try to apply, when you are going to apply with a European organ. So 3 important points. be in possession of the PhD degree, not more than 8 years full-time research experience after PhD, and complying with the mobility rule. So these are the 3 requirements for the researchers. Now, another very important aspect of the fellowship is how much funding is there. And this is a quite specific aspect of MSCA that MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships, but also other MSCA actions are based on unit costs. And I will now try to explain the concept of unit costs and the amounts of the unit costs. It means that when you apply for this fellowship, you do not design your own budget. You do not say, I need X amount of money to carry out my research and my other activities. Instead, your budget is determined by 2 factors. It is determined by the length of the fellowship, so usually, for example, 24 months, but also the country of your fellowship. And these 2 aspects determine your budget, so you have no choice in your budget. The budget is based on unit costs, and the unit costs given here in this table are for 1 person months. So meaning 1 month of you working on this fellowship in your host institution, full time. So usually when you apply for a European fellowship, all of these figures that I'm showing you will be multiplied by 24 because the duration of this fellowship is usually 24 months. For the global fellowship, it will be multiplied by 36, and you will have 2 different countries listed here, one for the outgoing and one for the incoming. And for each month, your unit costs are the following. So the total grant amount is when your application is successful and the host institution will then conclude a grant agreement with the European Commission. And the total grant amount will be given to the host institution, and the host institution will conclude an employment contract with you. And this employment contract, via this employment contract, you will be given a salary. And usually the salary contains the following elements. First of all, living allowance. So this is your salary, but very importantly, when you look at this figure and perhaps you think that it is a huge and enormous figure, almost 6,000 euros per month, this is not the salary that you will receive. This is the salary before all of the taxes are paid from it. And this means not only the taxes that you as an employee will pay, but also the taxes that the organization is paying as an employer. So the actual net amount depends very much on the country, and it depends very much on the taxation system in that country. I can tell you that in Estonia, the net amount of your salary would be roughly 1/2 of the amount that is shown here. But in other countries, taxation systems are very different, and you must talk to your host institution who can give you good information on the salary, on the taxes on your salary. The living allowance is the only part of the unit costs that will be adjusted either upwards or downwards based on the cost of living in the country that you have chosen for your postdoctoral fellowship. So the cost of living here, the unit cost here given in this table is based on the cost of living in Belgium. So this amount is for Belgium and Luxembourg. For countries where living is more expensive, the country coefficient is more than 100%, and it will adjust the amount upwards. But in the countries where cost of living is lower than the cost of living in Belgium, the country coefficient will adjust the amount downwards. So in purchasing power, your amount should be roughly equal in any country that you go to. So for example, the UK is more expensive than Belgium, and the country coefficient for the UK is considerably higher than 100%. But the cost of living in Estonia, where I am based, is lower than the cost of living in Belgium, and our correction coefficient is around 90% of this amount. The country coefficients are listed in the call documentation, so you can check beforehand what is the country coefficient, and you can make your calculations based on that knowledge. So living allowance, as I mentioned, is the only part that is adjusted with a country coefficient. All the other parts or the other amounts will remain exactly the same, depending on independent of the country of your destination. So the first addition that you will get also to your account, usually as part of salary, is the mobility allowance. So 710 euros per month, in addition to your living allowance, will make up your salary. Mobility allowance is meant as a token, as a recognition that mobile researchers have higher costs than those researchers who are based in the country. For example, it might be more expensive for you to rent an apartment for a short-term duration than it is for a researcher who is already living there, who has maybe a long-term lease contract. And other costs might be necessary. For example, maybe you want to take language courses, maybe you need some specific relocation assistance, etc. So the mobility allowance is meant for personal use. It is not meant for carrying out the project. It is an addition to your salary. In case you are married, you have a spouse, and or you have dependent children, then also the family allowance is added to your salary. And this means additional 660 euros per month. It does not matter if your family travels with you. Your duties towards your family remain if you're in different countries. So this family allowance is paid to you based on the proof of eligibility that you inform your host institution that you are married or you have children. Long-term leave allowance is something that you do not apply for in your initial application, but it is good to know that this long-term leave allowance exists, and it is here to cover any costs that the organization might have in relation to long-term leave that you might need to take during your fellowship. So for example, if you go on a maternity leave or if you are ill for a long time, then the long-term leave allowance covers these additional costs. And in case you have a disability, there is the special needs allowance. A bit complicated system. I will not explain that in detail right now, but it is possible to apply for this special needs allowance to cover the extra costs that you might have when you move, but you have a disability. Maybe it is a physical disability, or you have you are in need of specific software, or because of a sight disability or something like that. So in case you have a disability, then inform your host institution, and they will advise you how to go about applying for this special needs allowance. So all of these allowances are meant for the researcher. Usually your salary, if you're a single researcher, your salary is made up by two components, the living allowance and the mobility allowance, and the living allowance is the only component that is adjusted either upwards or downwards based on the country coefficients. But then there are the institutional unit contributions, and these do not change dependent on the country, and the institutional unit contributions are meant for carrying out your project. Research, training and networking contribution, 1,000 euro per month for a 24-month project. The total amount will be 24,000 euros. And this is meant to cover all of the costs related to the activities that you plan in your research project. For example, all of the research costs, all of your training costs, traveling to conferences, traveling to meetings, any communication activities, everything should be covered from the research, training, and networking contribution. And then the final and indirect contribution is meant for the organization to cover their overhead costs. So this is the funding, and the salary of the postdoctoral fellow is usually very in any European country. So now that I hopefully have convinced you that it is a good idea to apply for a Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowship, how to go about it? Applying for the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship is similar to applying for any other Horizon Europe grant, and it is done through a huge portal of the European Commission that is called the Funding and Tenders Portal. The Funding and Tenders Portal has calls for applications. Necessary documents are listed there, and the links that will be shared, my slides will be shared with you later. The links will be active, and you can go directly to the call for proposals for the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship 2025. The deadline for submitting your application is this year, 10th of September. It means that 10th of September, 5 o'clock Belgian time, you must have submitted your application, otherwise you cannot do it. So my advice is to aim for a slightly earlier date to avoid any, so to speak, because the MSCA postdoctoral fellowships, and I haven't proof about it, but I believe it to be the largest postdoctoral fellowship call in the world. Every year, roughly 10,000 applicants around the world submit their applications. And imagine any system having to deal with that amount of activity in the portal at one specific hour. So to avoid any unpleasant surprises at the very last moment, try to aim for an earlier submission date. There is now still plenty of time to do all of that. And I will explain in my following slides how to go about finding a host institution and preparing your proposal. Then the proposal consists of two parts. We call them Part A and Part B. And Part A are structured forms that are filled online together with your host institution. And Part B is the actual research and training proposal that you submit. And for this, you download the editable template from the call page, and you fill it in, also getting information from your host institution. You fill it in, you of course discuss it with your supervisor, you improve it, and then you turn it into a PDF and you upload it to the portal. And then you can submit this via this system. These are the evaluation criteria for the proposal. Whenever applying for a grant, it is very, very important not to submit something too general, but to really very closely look at the evaluation criteria and submit your application in a way that the evaluators will be able to find all the necessary information and will be able to give high scores to your application. In Horizon Europe, 3 evaluation criteria are used, and the same evaluation criteria are listed here under MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships. The 3 criteria are excellence, impact, and quality of implementation. But of course, the content of these evaluation criteria varies from call to call, and these are the specific criteria for MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship. So under excellence, the evaluators will be looking at the objectives, the research objectives of your proposal. They are also looking at the methodology that you propose for achieving these research objectives. Then they will look at the supervision arrangements. They will look at the quality of your supervisor, the quality of the training that you propose, the skills that you plan to get, and also the transfer of knowledge from you to the organization. Because you, when you're applying for this, you are not a blank canvas to be filled by your host institution and your supervisor. Quite the contrary, you are already an excellent and experienced researcher, and you have much to give also to the host institution that is going to host you. So you have to also think of how the skills and the knowledge that you have now could benefit the research group that you are planning to join with this grant. And finally, under excellence, the evaluators are also looking at your CV, what you have done so far, and how your skills and knowledge match what you are proposing. Under impact, the most important aspect of impact is the impact on your career. So coming back again to what I said in the beginning, MSCA actions are career development actions. So what is the expected impact is the impact on your career. The fellowship is there to make your career better in the future by, of course, allowing you to conduct high quality research. So you have to express what will be the impact on your career. And here it is quite important to think of what you want to do in the future, how you want to career you develop in the future, and show how this fellowship is bringing you closer to your dream. But also under impact, the evaluators will assess the dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities. And also they will look at the scientific, societal, and economic impact of the research that you are proposing. And finally, under the implementation, they will look at the work plan, risk assessment, which is very important in any application, but also here. And they are looking at the quality of the host institution as a whole and the suitability of the environment that will be provided to you. You see at the bottom percentages. These are called scales. So not all of the three criteria have equal importance. The excellence criterion is the most important. It will make up 50% of your final score. Impact will amount to 30% and implementation to 20%. But it doesn't mean that you can devote all your efforts on perfecting the excellence part. You cannot afford to lose points in any part. So MSCA is a very competitive scheme. And equally important, you have to take all of the parts of the proposal. The proposal structure mimics the evaluation criteria. So if you go to the proposal structure, on the left-hand side on my slides, I tell you what is contained in the administrative forms, and I apologize for the typo here. And on the right-hand side is the structure of the proposal itself, the narrative part of the proposal. And you see that the narrative part, the main document with a page limit of 10 pages, it is structured exactly as the evaluation criteria. So first chapter is excellence, second chapter is impact, and third chapter is implementation. So the proposal template, and I have referred here to the example template in PDF format that you can open to understand what is expected of you. It guides you through this document and explains in quite good detail what you must write here. Usually this effort is done with the help of the host institution and supervisor. Of course, the main person writing this proposal is you, the applicant, but your host institution and your supervisor can give you very invaluable help in preparing this proposal. The part B also has a second part where you list your CV, you fill in tables for all of the organizations, the host institution, but also the other organizations. Perhaps you are planning secondments or placements. Also, those organizations will be listed here. And there is also space for additional information on ethics. And you have to also explain how you adhere to the environmental principles of MSCA that are expressed in the Green Charter of MSCA. For those of you applying for a global fellowship, only those organizations that are the outgoing host organizations for global fellowship have to provide a letter of commitment. In a European fellowship, you don't have to provide any letters of commitment, so there are no signatures needed at proposal stage. But for the global fellowship, for example, if a researcher is coming from Europe to an Indian organization, the Indian organization has to provide a letter of commitment to be submitted together with this proposal. As I said, MSCA postdoctoral fellowships are the largest postdoctoral fellowship call in the world. 10,000 people are applying every year. All organizations might have their own additional documents to help you, etc. So it is not about finding useful information, but it is about selecting the most trustworthy, useful information out there. The internet is rife with all kinds of information for MSCA applicants. What I have listed here with links that you can use later on are the official documents on the left-hand side. The most important place to start is the call page. It actually has the links to all of the other useful documents, the other official documents, but there are a little bit, it might be a little bit difficult to follow the structure of the call page at first glance, so I have listed all the most important documents here. Work program is the legal basis of the call, and it includes information on all MSCA actions, all of the calls that are published in these years. So it is a longer document, but you only have to read the parts that are about postdoctoral fellowships. For example, the work program contains all the country coefficients for each country in the world. The proposal template I have also referred to earlier. It is an example template. You can download the editable template when you start your application via the call page. There is an FAQ that contains frequently asked questions. It is very useful to also look at these. Organizations should have a look at the model grant agreement to know what is the grant agreement be concluding, what are the obligations there. And for some parts of the proposal, I advise you to read also a more general document called Horizon Europe Program Guide, because some parts of the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship application are in line with general principles of Horizon Europe. For example, you have to describe their open science aspects and gender aspects, and to learn more about them, the program guide is the most useful document. There is also a specific guide. The guide is provided by the Research Executive Agency, which is the implementation agency of these grants under the European Commission. And every year they publish a guide for applicants. I have linked here to the 2025 guide for applicants. And on the same page, you will find also other documents, notably also the guidelines how to calculate the 8 years after research experience, if by chance you have more than 8 years since you defended your PhD. And there are also other useful documents that you can use to prepare a high quality application, such as the guidelines on supervision and the Green Charter. So a lot of reading, but I think the reading is time well spent to understand the call in its details and not to miss anything. But there are also other materials that I would recommend you to use, and these are materials developed by the network of Marie Skłodowska-Curie national contact points that are established in all European countries. So we have a cooperation project, and in this cooperation project, we really try to help applicants with further guidance and documents. And one of the most useful documents that this network provides is a handbook. which is in fact like a commentary to the proposal template. And as the call has not changed very much from last year, I encourage you to use the 2024 handbook, but we are going to publish also very soon in the coming months a handbook for the 2025 call. So this handbook will be published on the project of the new on the new project called Radiance. And I have listed here the link to the website Radiance project, so you can check every now and then whether our new guide or new handbook is already ready. In addition to handbook, you will find there also other useful documents, for example, policy briefs that explain certain policy aspects that you have to cover in your proposal. So all of that is like a minimum setup for documents. If you contact your future host institution, they might have additional very useful documents for you to read, but it pays off to put in effort. So as it was said in the introduction, it pays off to do this wholeheartedly. So otherwise it will be a waste of time, because the call really is quite competitive. Now, the first step in starting this application is actually finding a host institution that is interested in hosting you and the supervisor that is who is interested in supervising you. And many different paths can be used to find your supervisor, but the most common is via personal or contacts of your supervisors. Maybe you already know exactly where you want to go and who you want to work with. But there is also another way, and this is a more structured way, and this is to use the offers published by European organizations, because such at the same time that you future fellows are looking for your host institutions, on the other hand are looking for the potential candidates. So there is a specific portal that helps to bring these two together, and this is called the Euraccess Jobs Portal. The Euraccess Jobs Portal is a portal that has all kinds of useful information, especially for mobile researchers. But let me just mention this one specific part of the Euraccess Jobs Portal. I'm sure that Samrat can later tell you more about the Euraccess initiative and the portal. But in the portal, you will find what is called hosting offers. So I have indicated here a screenshot that you can go to the portal, click on jobs and opportunities, and then select hosting Horizon Europe MSCA. And I took this screenshot yesterday, and you see that there were 543 offers in the portal currently. So you can filter further with keywords corresponding to your research field or your preferred country, etc. And you can look through them, and you can perhaps find your host institution via these tools. There is also a matchmaking platform that the MSCA National Contact Points project has developed. Currently, this matchmaking platform, however, is a little bit on hold, but it is still usable. The screenshot that I have posted here is outdated. It was active until May 2025, and we will extend it very soon again. But the hosting offers by institutions are still there. As a potential fellow, you can still go there and browse and contact the organizations and the supervisors that have shared their profiles on this platform. So these are the two ways that I recommend for finding a host institution, but of course also many other ways are there. And really many organizations are actively looking for fellows to apply with them. And I can see here in the chat box already some organizations telling you that they are looking for fellows. So use these opportunities. Finally, let me inform you of the success rate of this scheme. I have included here yearly success rates. These are general success rates for both European fellowships and global fellowships. So on an average, when you apply for a European fellowship, you have roughly 15% of chances of being successful. This is a rather good chance, I would say. Writing a good proposal will take you quite close to your dream to be one of the 70% funded every year. For global fellowships, the percentage is roughly similar. So it is quite a good chance of getting funded with a good proposal. When you translate this into scores, the scores will be given to you on the scale of 100. You will see that there are a lot of very good proposals. And here you see cut-off scores, meaning the green indicates what was the lowest score that was funded in the year 2024. When you submit your proposal, you indicate what is your field of research. This is called panel. So we have here European Fellowship Chemistry until European Fellowship Social Sciences and the same for global fellowships from previous years. And you see that, for example, for engineering, the competition then was so tight that the lowest score that was funded was 95 out of 100. So this brings me back to to what I said earlier, that you cannot afford to lose points in any part of your proposal. So treat all of the 3 chapters as equally important. If there are questions about this, I will be happy to explain later. But now, having given the warning that it is very competitive, let me now give some more hope. Because with submitting this one MSCA postdoctoral fellowship application, in some cases, not in all cases, but in some cases, you have actually several chances of getting funded. And one of the chances is already another chance within Horizon Europe. If you choose one of the widening countries, it is a term that is used for 15 EU member states and 14 associated countries. Click on the link to have the full list. Then by submitting the MSCA fellowship, you get high score, but you are not funded from an MSCA, then automatically your application is transferred to another call called the ERA fellowship call. That gives you exactly the same conditions. You can carry out exactly the same project. The only difference is that you will not be called an MSCA fellow, you will be called an ERA fellow. And this scheme is in the widening part of the Horizon Europe program. And the aim is to combat brain drain from the widening countries to the non-widening countries and to encourage brain inflow to the widening countries. So for example, Estonia, my country, belongs to the widening countries. And if you choose Estonia as your host institution, you will have an automatic second chance of getting funded. The second chance is also quite competitive, so usually it's also above 90% that you need to obtain, although the threshold is at 70%. And finally, in some countries also implement a so-called Seal of Excellence programs. And since 2023, my country, but we are by far not the only one that implements such a scheme, we provide our national grant to those researchers who submit an MSCA proposal with an Estonian organization and get a high score, but not high enough to be funded from MSCA or ERA fellowships. Then you can turn to us and we fund the same proposal. You can still carry out exactly the same proposal in Estonia with your chosen institution, but our amounts are slightly lower than those of MSCA and ERA fellowships. Still quite nice amounts. So in many countries, you have this Seal of Excellence schemes. When you Google, you will find many examples that give you the third or second chance of getting funded. So although it is competitive, it is sometimes worth a try because you put in one application and you have several chances of getting funded. But as you heard in the beginning, India is among the most successful countries in postdoctoral fellowships. So fingers crossed that you will be among the more than 140 successful applicants also in 2025. Thank you for your attention.
Christine, thank you so much for this amazing presentation, so well structured and so comprehensive and extremely well explained. If I would have still the chance to apply for the postdoc, I think I would go for it, but I have crossed the 8 years some time back. But Christine, during your presentation, if you have a look at the Q&A, you will see there have been more than 100 questions. So it seems there's a really high attention span there, and I think many of the questions you have already answered during your presentations, but there are still some questions which pop up again because it is a complex call with and there are a lot of details to look at. The good news is that we will have another session with Christine in a couple of months from now on how to write a good proposal. So where Christine will go more in detail about the different application parts and will also give you much more insights in how to prepare a very strong proposal. So be sure to attend that. We will send out information in due time. Another good news is that we will also have a webinar series coming up on finding a host institution, which is often a threshold to first to go to cross, because how to find a supervisor, and as Christine said, there are more than 500 hosting offers available, so there are institutions looking for talented candidates, but at the same time we also want to support you in that, and we will have a webinar series on that at the end of this month where we have different host institutions from different European countries presenting their hosting offer. So that will also come up. So we will help you with that as well. But now I think it's a very good moment to also introduce our current MSCA Fellows. These are two excellent researchers who have cracked the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship in the past, and they're here today to share their insights. I also have seen that Dr. Ramu has been already answering some of the questions together with me. Thank you so much. And Christine, if you have the possibility, I know it's a huge amount of questions, but if you could look at some of them now, and we will try to consolidate them at the end of the session. But let me now introduce and welcome again our two MSCA Postdoctoral Fellows. I would start with Dr. Jyoti Nair. She's currently MSCA Postdoctoral Fellow at the Leibniz Institute of Photonic Technology in Jena, Germany. A very good afternoon to you, Jyoti. Thank you so much for joining. And I also like to welcome Dr. Wade Ramu, who is currently working as a postdoctoral Marie Curie Fellow at the Ruhr University in Bochum, Germany. Both of them are in Germany, so that's a coincidence. I'm not sure if you know each other. Probably this is the first time you're meeting,
Yeah,
but
we know.
you know each other. Okay, perfect. See, so
We
it's
know each other.
very
Yes,
good. So
yes.
so they will also tell you that the MSCA Alumni Association is very strong, globally connecting all the different researchers from their region. But let's start with asking our two fellows a few questions. Like I would ask Jyoti if you could kindly introduce yourself briefly to the audience, telling us a bit about your research background and also, your experience with the fellowship. What motivated you to apply? Like, how did you find out? Like, how was your personal journey to receiving the grant?
Okay. Thank you, Samrat. So myself, Dr. Jyoti, I just completed my PhD from CSA Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. And then I completed my PhD in 2018, actually, in the area of cancer research. That is more related to drug delivery. And I have, at that time, I have almost 14 publications, including four first author and the collaborative work. So my supervisors and my seniors asked me to for the Marie Curie Fellowship at the during the defense. But at that time, I was a mother and I am not well prepared for the application. So I just find a host who don't know about the application. So at that time, I just missed the call, and then luckily I found a secondment, and I contacted my secondment during a conference again, and I asked him, "Can you host me like that?" And then he agreed to me. So it was a long journey. Like it took me to get the fellowship in like 4 years. First time I don't know anything about that, and then next time I get into the fellowship. But I wrote a proposal on the drug delivery and the therapy aspect, but it got Seal of Excellence award, but it is not funded. And the problem in Germany, we cannot apply for the another fellowship, or we cannot transfer the fellowship, the proposal into the another platform like ERA mentioned by the Christine. But my host asked me to resubmit the proposal again, and then I improved. And apart from therapy, I just added the diagnostic aspect for my proposal, and it was successful in 2023. And I think we need to be patient, otherwise we will not be succeeded. For my journey, I was completed my PhD, and then I married, and then I got the kid, and then I wrote these three times, and I changed one host, and then after that it took me another resubmission also. So it is a long journey for me to get into the aspect, because and then in especially I need to mention in 2022 I just attended the workshop, the similar one from Euraxis India. That was superb. And for the part A, part B1 and B2, it was so explained, like Christina mentioned, and then that was took me to the another level, and I answered all the questions raised by the reviewers, and it was successful. So I just learned during the writing lot of things, and it was not just a proposal. I uh, uh, especially my friends and my junior students asked me, how do you you need to first approach with a proposal, or you need to find a host. There are a lot of questions, especially when we compare with the national postdoc or anything, and there are a lot many questions. But this is so long journey. So first we need to find a host, and then we need to start a proposal, and then like the part B1 and B2 writing, and there is a trick in writing the excellence part. There is a trick in writing the impact and implementation. Everything well explained by Christina, and then I don't want to go into details. And then actually it took me a long time. And then the thing is that when I entered to Germany, it was a very nice experience, and my host, everybody is supporting me. And especially last this yeah, early in this year, we have the Marie Curie Alumni Association meeting, where I met the Ramu and all the other MSCA fellows, and that was very good. And even we met the global fellowship awardees and staff exchange call. Even in India, we are in a rural area, so we don't know anything where this why this is Marie Curie is applying. Even the funding tenders portal, the students don't know. And
Mhm.
when we search in Google with this tagline Marie Curie Fellowship, there are a lot many ads, and in the down only MSCA, that funding tenders portal is coming, and that is giving all of the students like the most confusing part is that. And so with my journey, I just learned many things, and I switched I just spend a lot of time in writing also. So I would suggest all the students. So we can say like this is April to September. It is open, and then we can start writing in August or September end or something like that. It will not happen anything. So you need to be prepared like 6 months. Revise, resubmit. Revise submission also is it's possible in funding tenders portal. It is a very nice opportunity. So we can have a like a revision, and there are a lot many options. So I am very happy to be work with that funding tenders portal also.
Jyoti,
This was my journey. So I am happy to
Jyoti,
answer any questions. Yeah.
thank you, Jyoti. So great. I thought let's
Mm.
bring also Ramu into the discussion. I think you already covered a lot of my questions which I had, but it's very important to see for me to hear, and I think also for the participants, encouraging that it took you some time, it took you some effort, it took you some in between. Also, you had some disruptions in the sense positive disruptions, with getting married, having a child, but then you did a resubmission of it. And then you got the fellowship, so it shows, that it's not first time. If you don't make it, it's not a failure, right? It's a learning process
Yes.
how to improve your proposal. So I think this is very important for us to hear that if you don't make it the first time, there's still a possibility to resubmit and maybe get it the second or even the third time. So it really, like as you said, patience is very important. But I would also like to hear from Ramu a bit, how his journey was, because he also has recently received a grant. Ramu, could you just also tell us a bit about yourself and also what was your personal journey with this
Yeah.
fellowship?
Thank you, Samrat. It was pleasure to attend this event. I attended one of such events in 2021 when I was aiming to apply before, and Samrat was there. That helped me immensely. I mean, it was a completely different story before and after attending such event.
Mm.
So that event has given me the guidance how exactly I should approach or how exactly I should put my project into the paper. So before that, I applied 4 times, 3 times, and this was my fourth attempt. I got this fellowship. So I applied. There are several questions popping up in the question. I think most of them to my situation I have come across. So choosing a host, starting and then submitting a proposal, whether the secondment is required or not required, industry support is required or not required. So I fortunately got a very good host. I met him during a conference. I approached him, hey, I would like to work with you. Can you host my application? And then he was happy. Initially approached 2 hosts at the same time, whoever is willing to support my application, then I would like to go with them. So one of them was not responding very fast. It was responding like 15 days once I sent them email. And then I was like hesitating whether with whom I should go. So one is responding within 2 or 3 days. So that makes things much faster. So you need the same amount of enthusiasm from the host. So choose a host wisely. If otherwise you lose it, it's like 6 months, but extending the proposal, it takes a lot of time. So at least I made four revisions before submission. And coming to my journey, I also applied where I was working with my postdoc in Netherlands. I applied it twice with the same host, but it was not successful that time. And many people talk about the success stories, but I would like to talk here about the failure stories. What are the comments that I received when I got failed or rejected my proposal? So the main thing was they did not comment anything about the number of publications. I was having just 9 publications that time. I was not quite confident. And also they told me, oh, you are already working in the same group and you already learned so many techniques from the host. So you have nothing to learn new. So you need to have a novel idea, which is not just extension of your PhD work. So it needs to be something different. Matching, I would say, 30% of your previous work and 70% which is unknown to you, or maybe you will learn something new from the host group. So you have to give the two-way transfer knowledge. So you will get a 50% gain from the host group. You will do something new, and you also transfer your previous skills to the host group. So in the same field that you are already working, so bring some novel idea. So that makes the story successful. That's another thing. And sometimes most of us don't know exactly how to put our writing, because evaluators only see what you have given in that 10-page proposal. So they don't know your background. They don't have time to look at your profile, your publications. So all you need to do is just you need to write and combine all your ideas in a 10-page proposal. So that's what they can see only. And I heard, I attended such events like how to write a good proposal before in Cork while I was working in Dublin. Um, there, I have met a reviewer who was evaluator for MSCA proposals, and he told me, if you can't impress the reviewer in just 10 minutes, first 10 minutes is very crucial. He will look at your proposal. If you can't impress him, you are gone. So those first 10 minutes of or the first introduction, you have to describe all novelty, what you are going to do, everything. So writing is very, very important, I came to know. And fortunately, I got two fellowships, Marie Curie co-fund as well as individual fellowship. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot, especially from the successful applicants who were actually got it before. I talked to them, I called them, I messaged them. So be in touch with them. You will learn a lot. Also, go through the. I referred all the websites from Iraxis. So we need to put a lot of time in learning how to write the proposal. Yeah, it took me a lot of time. So don't worry, you get failed in one attempt. So keep trying, keep trying. One day we will get success. So it took me 4 attempts before I got into this. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Ramo. This is, of course, again, a very encouraging story to hear. Like, that you did not give up on that, and you also like you emphasized, the novelty. It has to be really scientific excellence, but it has to be something which is also like, striking the attention of the evaluator and seeing that this is something very novel you're proposing to research on. You already actually mentioned, both of you, that how your access was helpful. I'm very happy to hear that. It's also rewarding for us to see that our webinars, have helped in the process of applying for you. And we hope that today's webinar again will be a catalyst for those who are considering to apply for this very prestigious fellowship. I'm seeing that we know the questions are rising high. Like there are so many to be answered. I'm afraid we won't be able to answer all of them, but we will still dwell a few more minutes more, because we have these two amazing fellows with us. I want to ask you a bit more about the strategies you have been using when you approached the application process, and where did you find the assistance support? You already mentioned it here and there, but maybe you could again summarize for the audience, what were your strategies? Where did you find the support? Already Christine has mentioned some very important documents to check and read. But there are also, as you said, there are webinars and trainings on how to write in a proposal, and how to navigate through the tender portal. But just from your perspective, both Jyoti and Ramu, like which strategies and which support assistance did you find the most useful when preparing for the proposal? Let's start with Jyoti.
Yeah, first, an introduction regarding the funding tenders portal is essential to find the code. Actually, when we apply with the scheme, we students will find like the MSCA-PF, GF is there, any open calls were there, or 3, 4, 5 will be there. So they don't know even eventually first time I don't know I should apply for the PF. I'm confused with the global also. And then I was met a senior like that he suggested he has a global fellowship, but he also exactly don't know how we can approach to a PF and to find a host or something like that. So regarding the funding tenders portal, an introduction is really required before approaching a host itself. because for the funding lenders portal, the login required the PIC number. So when we approach a host without a PIC number, they cannot even log in into the portal. So students should be aware of the login system and then generating the idea. Then next, after the login in the portal, we can download the template. Or some cases, the Euraccess, they are giving the hosting call also. If they are generating the hosting call, they are giving all documents like the templates and all. And if we give an outline regarding the B1 especially, and the CV is almost similar, but the B1 is really tricky. So second is B1. If you explain the B1, and then it will be fine, I guess. And the state of art writing is very important, and the risk factor in the implementation part. And especially when we are writing the work packages in the last portion, that also now all the these guidelines are giving the good format for that one. But I don't know, all the students are going with this 100 pages of this outline. I don't know, but it is really well written. How we can generate a grant chart, how we can make a risk, and how we can get into the career development plan, especially in the impact section. That it is clearly mentioned. First time when I go through the guidelines given, I didn't look clearly into the depth. But if we have a webinar on that, we will listen at least 2 hours for that, and that can create a really good impact, I guess.
Mm. Thank you, Jyoti. This was very helpful. And Ramu, what have been your strategies and which support did you find the most useful while preparing or the proposal? Could you unmute your mic? Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, please.
Yeah, when I was writing my proposal, especially the one that got successful, previously I applied in a different group with a different idea. This is a different group and a different idea. So first attempt I applied in UK, and the second attempt I applied from Netherlands. In my third attempt, I applied from Germany. So each time I changed the group and also the proposal idea. So every time in between I gave up 1 year. So okay, it's not going to work, something like that. And then I recollect all my energies, and then oh no, I should get it, because it's a very prestigious grant and it's very well known. And once you become an MSCA fellow, you have that tag MSCA fellow. It's very prestigious. It makes me feel proud. So I want to get that tag. It was very fascinating for me when I was writing this proposal. So while writing the proposal, especially talking to the alumni who are already succeeded in this fellowship, it helped me a lot. They guided me how to write introduction, results and dissemination. Um, there is a very important few points already described in the Euraccess web portal, how to write your proposal. Of course, sometimes it's very hazy and it's not very clear when you read this document for the first time. Everything looks okay. It's vague. I don't understand anything out of this. So you need to extract the summary of the lines in between. So you need to read in between the lines. So it's a bit difficult, but generally, especially for Indian community students, we are not a native speakers of English. So we need to put a lot of effort in understanding this sentence framing. So it took me a lot of time while writing the proposal, especially dissemination part. How do you publish your results you achieved from this project? So that part, at one time I heard in a evaluation summary report, uh, one of the fellow did not mention how he will disseminate his results through the social media platforms. For example, I publish my results in LinkedIn page or Twitter or some kind of professional platforms. So they forgot to mention that, even though they have a LinkedIn profile. So this kind of minor things actually reviewers want to see. Okay, how you are aware. Okay, how do you know how you engage with the school children? For example, there will be open university days. So I will go there. I will introduce about my project, European Research Night, For example, we will participate in international conferences. I showcase my results through the post presentation, flash talks. So these kind of things we need to address in the dissemination section, and also a two-way transfer knowledge. As I have discussed already, you bring to the host and what you gain from the host. So that's also important. And what I learned, especially uh, showing the two-way transfer knowledge, a picture speaks a lot more than words. So incorporate the pictures, what you want to say. So the pictures is very essential. So because the reviewer want to see, understand immediately by looking at the picture than reading 10 lines of sentence. You just paste a picture. Okay, I'm the host. Here is a guest. So what kind of knowledge you transfer to the host and what you will gain in return. So just give it in a picture format, and that makes the reviewer's life easy. All you need to know is my point of view. So it was a very painful process, but ultimately you will make it one day.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. Thank you so much. Um, we are a bit running late, but I think it's very important, to have you all here today live with us. So I'm very thankful to the audience who's also sticking with us. I just wanted to conclude this part of the testimonial with asking both of you just in 2 minutes, can you give like what are the three key advice you want to give to the audience who are considering to apply? Like, what are your three main advices you want to share today now? Jyoti.
Find a very good host. That is very important. And go through all the procedure before apply. If you lose the threshold score, you cannot apply next year. So be careful with that. And ask MSCA alumni and find MSCA alumni and talk to them and then apply. And if you are applying for the Marie Curie, don't stick on that. Apply for the others and get into the track and then wait for the Marie Curie. That could be better. So
Mm,
during my journey, I just applied others also. So
mm,
I, I have a position all the time, but still I am applying for the Marie Curie. Like, yeah. So
mm,
don't be distracted with anything. You should be. It is like I will say like a UPSC exam. You should be prepared to write either 2 hour dedicated in one day. Like this 6 months should be
mm,
dedicated for this writing. So that is very
mm.
important. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is very great advice you have given. And Ramu, what are your like
Uh,
concluding advice?
my advice is find the host as early as possible. Start writing the application as quickly as possible. Try to exchange the proposal with your host as many times as possible. Make corrections, work on it, and submit. Submission is important because everybody try to submit at the last minute, and the site will not work, and you will not be submitting. So all your 6 months work is gone. So it's better keep
Mm,
at least 2 weeks in hand before the
mm,
deadline and submit.
very good.
You can always resubmit if you have any modifications at the last minute. You
Yeah.
always resubmit the application. So at least I would keep 2 weeks in my hand before the deadline, and I would submit 2 weeks before the deadline. So and then
Mm,
keep
great.
resubmitting if you have any revisions from the
Very,
host. Yeah.
very important. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
both of you. I think this was really great to have you with us. And stay a few minutes longer. I'll bring Christine into the picture. Christine, I see you have been looking at the Q&A. It's been an overwhelming set of questions. Do you have anyone? Do you see some like similar question? Would you like to address them now? I will also ask a few, but maybe you have been in the meantime also looking at the Q&A. Are there some questions you want to immediately address, which you think are general and appealing to everyone?
Yes, I think a recurring theme was finding a host institution. Now
Mm,
is the best time to find a host institution, and I have mentioned some possibilities in my slides. So I would really recommend that everybody has a look at the Your Access portal, because really the main problem when you try to contact someone, I mean, good supervisors, important professors in well-known European universities, they might get 100 applications, 100 emails wishing to work with them, and so it is a really common problem, and not only for researchers in India, but for researchers everywhere, that these emails very often remain unanswered because the professor might not have time for something. If you do write to professors directly, then try to make your email really succinct and add all the information already. Have a ready-made half page of your CV, a ready-made half page of your project idea that will maximize your chances of getting an answer. Put some work into this initial contact. But if you approach organizations via that have listed their hosting offers in the Your Access portal, then it is really you do not have this problem because they are actively looking for candidates. So they have a structured way of receiving the candidates, and they might offer some training, etc. So really it is a much more stress-free way of finding a potential institution. But it might be, of course, that you will not find. I mean, there are a lot of offers, but maybe your research field is specific and you do not find an offer that is really for you. But start by browsing the hosting offers. That is really a good way to start, and really you will benefit a lot from this work that has been done by the Your Access network.
Thank you, Christine.
Another recurring question. Yes, another recurring question was from those researchers who have already submitted a previous application and they are now planning to resubmit. And I think resubmission is a very good idea. Statistically, resubmissions are more successful than the initial submissions because you learn from every submission. You get the evaluation feedback and you will learn what your strengths and weaknesses were. But of course, every submission, even if it is a resubmission, is treated equally. So it is not like they are looking at your previous one and then assessing how much you have improved. Every time it is read as if it was a new application. But it's just the process of learning and reiterating and making the proposal more specific is what gets you a higher score. And also the score of the previous submission does not affect the score of your resubmission. And you can resubmit only if you get a score above 70%. So if you received a score that was below 70%, you cannot resubmit with the same host institution and the same idea. Then you must really reconsider where and you want to go and what you want to do.
Thank you, Christine. I saw some questions which were recurring. One is if one can apply with two applications or with different
I'm
supervisors.
nodding, but I should be doing like this so it would be more clear. No, you cannot. You cannot.
Yeah.
So for a Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowship, you can only apply, you can only submit one application at a time, one European or one global, not, for example, two European or one European, one global, etc. So.
Yeah, that's very important. And another, I think there's there's some questions about, for some of the audience participants who are already in Europe, for which fellowship are they eligible? Like, are they eligible for the global or European? We have the case now with Jyoti and Ramu who have been in Europe already, right, when they applied. So, but Christine, maybe you could just again explain
I
it
will
to.
explain that one more time because it is quite crucial to understand that for European fellowship, you can always apply for a European fellowship. I mean, if you're already in Europe, you can always apply for a European fellowship. The only restriction is that you cannot apply with a country where you have already resided for more than 12 months in the last 3 years. So, for example, if you have been working in an institution for 3 months or for 7 months or even for 11 months, you can still apply with that very same institution. But if you have been there for more than 1 year, then you can apply for a European fellowship with another host institution in another country. So, for example, if you settled in Germany, you work there for several years, you can still apply with a UK institution or an Estonian institution. There are no restrictions. So it is not Europe as such, but it is the particular country. And it applies to both European and global fellowships that you cannot apply with the country where you have resided for more than 12 months. Another question is, can you apply now? I mean, you have been in Europe for many years. Can you apply for a global fellowship, for example,
Right.
to go to come back to India for a period, or to go to the United States, or to go somewhere else? The answer now depends on how many years you have resided in Europe. So the term is long-term residence, and it means at least 5 consecutive years in Europe. So
Yeah.
5 years spent consecutively in Europe, then you are eligible for a global fellowship. But of course, if you have been here for only 2 years or 1 year, you are not yet eligible for a global fellowship.
Yeah, yeah, very. I think that this was now very clear. Thank you, Christine. I think this was very important because it tends to be a little bit confusing at the first glance, between the different types of fellowships. But I think that was very important that you just highlighted and mentioned. Another, I think. Well, there are a lot of questions, of course, but I think what we could pick out here is, the secondments and the placements. Are they for both fellowships or only for the European?
They are for both fellowships. Both European and global fellowship can have secondments and placements. For secondments, they can happen they are part of the duration of the fellowship. So they are included in the fellowship itself. And then for European fellowship, it can be at any time during
Yeah.
during the 2-year period. But for a global fellowship, you can only go on secondments during the outgoing part. So
Mm,
when the person returns to Europe for 12 months, then secondments are not possible. And
mm,
placements, they are open, they are also available to both European and global fellowships, but they take place after the fellowship has
yeah.
been completed. So the fellowship, the main part of the fellowship ends, and then the placement starts, and it lasts for 6 years. 6 years, that would be nice. 6 months. So I should also add that you do not describe your placement in detail in your
Mm,
application. You apply for it already in your initial application, but it is just the benefit to your career that you mentioned. You do not have a detailed work plan for the 6 months. It is considered an additional period, not part of your fellowship, and your work plan does not include those details.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Another quick question about the eligibility of this 8 years after completing the PhD. There are some questions I've seen about, was 2 years unemployed. I had maternity leave. How do I know? Could you guide a bit there? I know there's a calculator, but maybe you could just give more insights
So
into that.
yeah, that is the calculator really is a good idea. So I would always advise people to start with a calculator. It makes it quite clear. You enter the dates of your various appointments or unemployments or maternity leaves, etc., and you get a clear answer. But I can tell you the basic principles. Any time that is considered a career break, for example, you were unemployed or you were on maternity leave, any such period can be deducted as a total. So you were, let's say, 1 year on maternity leave, the whole period can be adjusted from this time after PhD. But also, if you had a position that was partly research and partly non-research, then you must enter the percentages, and then you can deduct the percentages. But also you might have a position that had nothing to do with research. You were not unemployed, but you were working, for example, in let's say, the human resources department of a university. That can also be deducted fully. So it is
Mm,
anything that is not research experience can be deducted, either
mm,
fully or as a percentage of the time. And the template, the Excel file will help you with this
yeah.
deduction.
Super. There's a rumor, a strong belief that it's the MSCA-PF is very strongly STEM orientated and not for social scientists. But I think that's pretty wrong because a large chunk of the grant goes to scientists from the social sciences, right,
Yes,
Christine?
that is absolutely correct. That is why I said in my introduction that bottom-up nature is what differentiates MSCA from the rest of the framework program. I might say that the Horizon Europe, the big program as such, is STEM-oriented because there are limited opportunities for humanitarian or social scientists. But that is not at all true for MSCA and also for ERC for that matter, because both of these grants are totally, and I mean totally bottom up. And this is reflected also in the evaluation system. When you apply for this grant, you mark which is your field, which panel you apply for, and there are separate panels for humanities and social sciences, and also economic sciences, for example. And then the evaluation takes place in a way that applications in one field are only compared to applications in the same field, meaning that all the social sciences and humanities are not compared to applications from,
Mm,
let's
mm,
say, life sciences or whatever. So they are compared among themselves. They compete among themselves, and the evaluators, of course, also come from these fields. So it is not biased in any way towards STEM, and the chances of getting funded are the same for each one. Let me
mm,
just explain that one more. You saw in the percentiles table that the scores were slightly different, but that does not say that it is that there is preference for one or the other topic. It is
mm.
just the way that evaluates in these fields scores. So life sciences are more likely to give higher scores, and social scientists are more likely to give a little bit lower scores. So that is reflected in these percentiles. And the budget every year is divided proportionally to the number of applications submitted into each panel. So each panel gets the amount of budget that is proportional to the amount of applications in that field. So that makes it really, I think, a very good system and not biased at all towards one or the other research field.
Oh, that's great to know. Thank you. I also want to address a couple of questions quickly to Ramu and Jyoti. There's always this belief that the more publications I have, the better my chances are. How was it in your case? Did you have already many publications when you applied, or do you think that place had played had an impact on your application proposal? Ramu, maybe you go first.
Uh, I also spoke with the other fellows who got rejections, and I also spoke with the people who got successful proposals. One of the guy who who got failed, he told me that he got a comment from the evaluation of his project. He said, "Oh, the applicant has no first author papers, or he has only seven papers." It all depends on the reviewer's mindset, because it's quality compared to quantity, I would do always. So impact, it doesn't matter, but whether you have any previous experience that shows in your publications, like, okay, he's a genuine candidate, he has already some experience he's capable of implementing this idea. So the reviewer should have an impression on you, okay, this guy is capable of implementing this idea is important. It's not about, there is no particular number that says,
Mm,
okay, this many publications give you the success rate.
yeah.
So there is no numbers like that.
Mm,
So it's all about how you show yourself, um,
mm, mm.
whether you are capable of doing your idea or not. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
Jyoti,
also
would you?
support Ramu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also support Ramu because e- especially if you state the exchange of knowledge between the host and us, if you cite the papers with us, the expertise, it could be better. So in that case, the publication is important, but yeah, number doesn't matter. I also feel number doesn't matter. But if
Mm,
your CV is strong, I believe it is good. But uh, you can, apart from the publication, you can highlight your patents. It can take long time, right? So you can highlight paper, or you have any additional important presentations, or arrange the CV as much as you can. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You show yourself, that could be better.
Mm, great. I think last question for Ramo and Jyoti, how to get in touch with you, how to get in touch with you already mentioned a few times you spoke with previous fellows. I think Ramo, you put a Facebook group link that I think that's very important, to how to get in touch with your peers. Please let the potential applicants know how could they reach out maybe to you or to other successful candidates.
In my case, I would be happy to answer the messages through LinkedIn, and I would strongly recommend join the Facebook page. There is a specific page, the MSCA aspirants for the 2026. So there is almost 19,000 aspirants or alumni in this page. So there may be somebody who is responding to your questions. So
Mhm.
if I'm not always available, so there may be somebody who is responding to your questions. So I always be happy to answer the questions if you have any through LinkedIn. So I keep checking
Thank
my
you.
LinkedIn every day. So
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I also keep checking in LinkedIn. You can contact me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. That's so kind of you. I know you both are very busy researchers, but you're so generous to also support because you've been on this journey, so you know how it feels when you start looking for applying. I'm looking at the time. It's 1:30, so we're like actually half an hour beyond what we had actually planned, but I think it was totally worth. And I apologize, of course, to Christine and Ramo and Jyoti for keeping you longer than I had actually informed you. But I'm also very thankful to you that you took the time, and also very thankful to the audience who was very patiently listening. But we can see from the Q&A how interactive and how engaged our participants have been for this webinar. We will try to answer your questions. Please send them to indiadirections.net. We will try to help you to address them, but also to redirect them to the right people if we are not able to answer all your questions. As I said, we will share the recording again, so you can really review all what has been spoken. We will share the presentation of Christine with you by tomorrow. Everything will be ready in your inbox, and we will have this how to write a strong proposal with Christine in a couple of months. But we will also have the how to find hosting offer by the end of this month. So there's a lot of things coming up to help you support you in that. And with that, I would officially conclude today's webinar and give a big thank you to Christine, to Jyoti, and Ramu, and wishing you all a very good evening here in India and a good lunch break in Europe. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.
bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
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 Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Bye.
Bye
listening.
bye.
Bye bye.
Thank
Have a nice
thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.